Will the congregation please stand?
Nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor breadth, nor anything else in all of creation can separate us from the love of God we know in Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen. Friends, we have gathered here in the presence of God today to celebrate the life of Kristi Laycraft and to commend her to God's loving care. We come together in grief, acknowledging our human loss. May God search our hearts, that in pain we may find comfort, in sorrow we may find hope, and in death we may find resurrection. Let us pray. Sacred Spirit, Holy God, you are revealed to us in the sights, sounds, and smells of the creation that surrounds us and gives us life, and in the loving care of family, friends, and community. Our life, all life, depends upon you. Help us now in this time of grief to rely upon you and you. Bless us with the comfort of your presence as we give thanks for the life of Kristi Laycraft and express our deep sorrow at her death. Let the warmth of your love enfold us and give us a touch of your peace in this time as we gather. Amen. We gather today to pay tribute to Kristi, to honor the life she has shared with us. And so we're going to have tributes for both family and friends today. First of all, I'm going to invite Kristi's family, David, Stephen, and Anthony, to come and to share their words with you.
Hi everyone. I'm Dave Laycraft, and my brother Steve and I have been asked to provide a tribute to our younger sister, Kristi. And Anthony has joined us as well. We first want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy summers to join us. And, we were expecting a good crowd, but this is a really terrific turnout. So thank you for coming. And welcome from our parents, Daryl and Camille, my wife Allison, and two daughters, Foster and Monroe.
From my wife Shannon and our children Kate and Paula and our nephew Alex, and also Xavier, and as they introduced Anthony. We also wanted to recognize all of the support provided to Kristi and the family over the past 18 months. We have been truly overwhelmed by the calls, the texts, the posts, the prayers, and the positive thoughts. Mom encouraged us to keep this tribute positive and light, to remember the fun times, the inspirational moments, and the legacy that Kristi has left behind.
So with Mom's encouragement still ringing in my ears, I'm going to start off with my first memory of Kristi, and actually it's probably my first memory as a person. And it goes back to a December day in 1970, and Mom and Dad dropped Steve and I off at my grandparents' house in Blackie, and they were apparently going for a Christmas shopping trip in the city. But I was a 5-year-old and I had a secret. And about 3 minutes into being dropped off, I told my grandma and Grandpa Laycraft that Mom and Dad were going up to pick up my new sister. And they didn't know what I was talking about. But it did become clear that afternoon when Mom and Dad came back, and they returned with an adopted baby girl, and she was in a green dress, and she had golden peach fuzz for hair. And the baby's name at that time was Rosemary, but my mother had nursed in California with a woman, another nurse, that had a daughter named Kristi, and the rest is history.
Mom says that Kristi was 2 years old by the time her hair finally grew in fully. But she made up for this slow start over the years to follow. You probably know that the ever-changing hair of Kristi in slideshows. I think you saw it all over the years, from long to short to bald, from straight to curly, from platinum blonde to copper to brunette, from punk to new wave, and from wigs to extensions. Dave and I have had a combined 5 different hairstyles our whole lives. And honestly, 2 of those were huge mistakes. So for us, Kristi's ever-changing style seemed a bit excessive, but it was truly a reflection of who our sister was. As Kristi's first birthday party was winding down, the family was on the porch waving goodbye to 2 sets of grandparents. Mom reported that she was just turning to go back to the kitchen to check on Kristi, who had not yet displayed a whole lot of mobility. But there she was, standing right beside Mom. She was ready to go, and she didn't slow down for the next 45 years. This was good, because we lived on a 3rd-generation grain farm, just north of Blackie, and mobility was to become important. And it really was a great environment for us all to be raised in. We all developed solid work ethics, and were encouraged academically, and this formed the foundation for Kristi's future successes.
Kristi started school in Blackie in 1976 and was in Blackie for grades 1 through 9. And luckily for Steve and I, Kristi was a bit of a pack rat, so there's been lots of mementos and pictures that we've gone through the last 10 days or so. And Steve and I rediscovered a few things about Kristi. You know, she was a bit of an athlete, just a bit. She played softball for several years and was actually coached by my mother on a few of those years. And she played on several school teams. And I even found a second place blue ribbon that was for something called the ball toss. And, you know, it sounds like it was a kind of a homemade event to me, but, you know, second was almost first, so there's third. She was an explorer, and she, you know, enjoyed 4-H. She enjoyed summer camps. And she was quite musical, and she was recognized at the Kiwanis Music Festival on several occasions for voice and piano. And she got good grades. You know, I came across her grade 8 report card, and it showed marks in the mid to high 80s for language arts, math, science, social, and gym. But it was the 65% in photography that I found ironic, you know, coming from one of the true pioneers of today's selfie movement. And as a family, we were fortunate to go on lots of vacations together in the 70s and the 80s, Florida, Hawaii, California, and Mexico. And they all allowed Kristi to start a love affair with tropical vacations and beaches. Banff and Fernie for winter ski trips, and Windermere and Blaine Lake in the summers for water skiing, and more beaches. Kristi then moved on to Senator Riley High School here in High River in 1985. Few classes, friends, and teachers, driving a more active social life were all seen as good things by Kristi, and she continued to expand her network of friends. She liked all kinds of music, and she kept many of her concert ticket stubs. And we came across one for Corey Hart, one for the Beach Boys, and one for Neil Diamond, and one for Depeche Mode. So it was a real, you know, along the spectrum of music, it was pretty broad. And Allison, Kristi, and I went and saw her beloved Prince at the Saddle in the late 90s, I recall. She never did get to see Michael Jackson, but she saw his sister Janet at Saddle as well. And then we also came across tickets for the opening ceremonies of the Calgary Winter Olympics and a couple of other events that she went to. So continuing to be a bit of an explorer, one summer in high school, Kristi traveled to Japan on an exchange program organized by the Lions Club. And this was a real eye-opener for a young country girl, that she fit in right away and had a great trip, made lots of new friends. But one of the best things for Kristi is that her host family, they owned a hair salon. So for 3 weeks, she had 10, she was in Japanese heaven because she had 10 stylists at her disposal. And Kristi also joined the Blackie Gladys Players Troupe in her high school years. And one dark night at practice, after practice, she got in her car and she slowly backed up and she hit the car behind her or something. And it wasn't anything major. And information was shared, no big deal. So the next morning she goes to high school and she goes into her math class, and Al Mauser is the teacher, and Al's always had a bit of a dry sense of humor, and he's up there drawing on the board, and it's a grid. So he said, so this is the town of Blackie. And then he starts drawing in a couple of little rectangles, and so these are parked cars in Blackie. And then posed this question to the class. So what is the probability of 2 cars colliding in such an inactive setting? Kristi never did know how Mr. Mauser learned of this little fender bender so quickly, you know, and especially way before social media, so still a mystery. And it was at this time that Kristi came across a book of reflexology. And she found it amusing that she could rub people's feet and get their nose to run, or their sinuses to run. But you know, this little parlor trick that she enjoyed, it did spark an interest in anatomy and the nervous system, and that ultimately led her to her chosen field of chiropractic.
Kristi learned at a relatively young age that one sure way to get her older brother Steve to play with her was to pull the Barbie Corvette out of the closet. Kristi and I shared a fondness for cars in general, and faster cars were always better than slower ones. The four of us as siblings all were fortunate enough to leave the farm with reliable, newish cars. Kristi's was a white 1986 Ford Escort GT with a 4-speed manual transmission that some of you may remember. And it was absolutely quicker and more fun to drive than my first 3 cars combined. I was jealous. And she could really drive that car too, perhaps a little too well, regardless of Dave's parking lot story. She was a good driver. Anyway, Kristi logged a lot of miles in that Escort, usually with 1 to 4 white-knuckled friends in the passenger seats. With the age spacing between the 4 Laycraft siblings, Kristi and I were the only 2 to actually share time in junior high and high school, both in Blackie and at Senator Riley, from which she graduated in 1988. We then also shared 2 years together in Lister Hall residence in Edmonton at the University of Alberta. From shared school experiences, I can tell you that in a grade school class of 25, in a high school class of 100, or in a university residence populated by over 1,000, Kristi was the social hub wherever she went. She collected lifelong friends along every step of her journey. She was a social rock star. After Edmonton, it was off to Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport, Iowa, where she served as the International School President and was a member of the Sigma Phi Chi sorority. She graduated as a doctor of chiropractic in 1994. As her brothers, it was our job to take every opportunity to tease her that she was not a real doctor, but only a chiropractor. Although we all were actually really quite proud of Kristi and this achievement. Kristi's professional life started upon her return to Alberta in 1994. Early on, she spent a few months living in my basement and worked at several locums until 1996, when she became a business owner after acquiring an existing practice, which was eventually branded as Generations. A High River location then added several years later. The 2013 flood forced Kristi to close her High River Fit practice, but after partnering with Optimum Wellness, she was excited and proud to return to High River Market under the Optimum banner.
So I need to take a second here and make sure that we are all clear that it was Steve, and Steve alone, that played Barbies with Kristi. Kristi was always constantly strengthening her professional capabilities and skill. And over the years, she developed a specialty in treating children. She spent many weekends traveling to and attending seminars and courses so that she could provide all of her patients with better care. Over the past few weeks, we have heard many stories from her patients her staff, and colleagues that really made me realize the number of people that my little sister touched, and that the path that she chose all those years ago was absolutely the right one. So it was November 1995. The TV show was Seinfeld. The episode was The Soup Nazi. And Jerry's girlfriend du jour loved public displays of affection. So they called each other Schnoopy. And it was really annoying. So for whatever reason, Kristi and I started calling each other Schnoopy. And it has stuck for over 20 years. Even in our final time together at the Foothills Hospital, I said, "See you soon, Schnoop," as I left her room. Kristi was predeceased by our 4 grandparents, Tam Stewart in 1987, Willis Laycraft in 1989, Stella Laycraft in 1997, and Millicent Stewart in 2010. In the final weeks of Millicent's life, her nursing home was having a silent auction, and they were trying to raise a bit of money by selling some old and retired appliances and electronic items. And one of the items was this old microwave oven. And imagine what a microwave oven made in the Soviet Union in the 870s. And then remove a few features. And that's probably about what this microwave looked like. So anyways, I grabbed a bid sheet, and I wrote 3 things on that. Phone number, $75, and Schnoopy. And so about 3 weeks later, after Millicent had passed, Kristi got a congratulatory call from an old lady asking for Schnoopy. And Kristi, she played along and thought it was really funny. My dad, he had to go to the city with the truck and a dolly to pick up this 90-pound microwave oven. So he didn't find it as funny. And then he dropped it off in my garage, where it stood, sat for about a year. And by then I didn't find it funny either.
Kristi was also predeceased by her birth father, Ray Riggs. Kristi considered herself fortunate to have been able to connect with Ray and to start a relationship with him a few years prior to his passing of cancer. In fact, Kristi gave the eulogy at his funeral. From my perspective, the 15 years from 1995 to 2010 were kind of a blur of activity for Kristi, comprised of growing her practices, giving back to her community, and maintaining an active social life. Kristi supported many local charities, including Rowan House, Foothills Hospice, Literacy for Life, and the High River and Calgary chapters of Food Bank. There were too many travels and vacations to mention for Kristi, but her personal favorite, her happy place, as she said in the hospital 2 weeks ago, was Barbados. She supported the Hitmen and the Stampeders and traveled to several Grey Cups. And she loved playing auntie to her 2, then 4, then 6 nieces and nephews. She hosted numerous movie and sleepover nights over the years, gaining true fans among our kids. The nieces remember Kristi making big bowls of popcorn from scratch, loaded with tons of butter and salt. She also taught them that popcorn is often best served sweet and salty, which sometimes meant pouring Smarties into the mix. After the movie, the 4 of them would all fall asleep in Kristi's big bed until X came along, and then there would be 5 of them.
Of course, many of Kristi's vacations and activities involve spending money, and Kristi really excelled at that. Last week, my wife Allison was speaking to Sandra Locke, a longtime friend of Kristi's, and Allison was telling her she was going to go shopping and buy something for this event. And she just really didn't care what it cost. And Sandra just came back right away. Well, Allison, if anyone was good at blowing the budget, it was Kristi. During this time frame, Kristi also had a cat that weighed about 100 pounds, and it seemed to live forever. Fuji often slept stretched out on Kristi's head, and the fact that this stupid cat didn't suffocate Kristi 15 years ago was probably still a miracle. Fuji did eventually pass away, and Kristi was devastated. Months later, she was in Vancouver visiting her brother Todd and sister-in-law Heather. They were having supper with Todd's in-laws, Vancouver Dave, Deborah has joined us today. And they were toasting deceased family and friends. And at the end of the toast, Kristi just kind of chimed in with, "And Fuji." So Todd reports that now, ever since then, when they do a toast at Heather's family's get-togethers, they always toast Fuji's.
And then, with the birth of Xavier on November 4th, 2011, Kristi finally became who she was always intended to be, Xavier's mommy. Xavier became the love of Kristi's life in an instant. And she is raised an exceptional young X-Man. We now ask Anthony to share some of his memories of Kristi.
Looking out in the room here, I'm going to tell you people I've only known Kristi for a short period of time, 7 years to be exact. I'll never forget the night we met. We had St. Peter's Fall. I joked around about how great my pancakes were, and it became one of the favorite things that I knew. Being blessed enough to know this farm girl, twin city girl, that made the best steak I've ever had. It was amusing, interesting, and fun. I admired her resilience, ability to see the silver lining through tough times and preparing nature. When she went through the difficulty of the flood, I really got to understand how much she really cared about the people around her. She fought tooth and nail to keep the business open, despite, because she didn't want the staff and the friends to end up in more difficulty, even though the burden created bigger problems in her own personal life. Although we didn't have a traditional relationship, we learned how to be a family and how to be parents together. As a mother, she did an amazing job at balancing and building a business while ensuring that Xavier never felt neglected or was left wanting for anything. One of our first experiences during this journey as a family was Xavier's first dog died. We were both disgusted by his smell. But as we gagged and cleaned up the mess, I couldn't help but think, this is the grossest thing I've ever had. But Kristi was and she really has been. When it came to Xavier, he was first, second, and third, and her name was came forward. It's been a journey that we've had to create the rules as we went along, and I think we've done an okay job at it. The time we spent together was short, but she was a better friend to me than anyone I've ever known. She's the mother of our favorite person in the world, the whole wide world. I love her forever. I miss her so much. Living with the pain of the loss is good to be.
Kristi was diagnosed with breast cancer in early 2016 and spent most of that year fighting the disease, which included chemotherapy and radiation treatments. By late fall, we were starting to believe that remission was on the doorstep.
niece's house at the end of November for their annual pre-Christmas party. And I remember her good mood and her sense of optimism for 2017. And I remember thinking, okay, she'll be back. She's back. And we had a good Christmas season. And then she started back to work part-time in January. But by March, we learned her cancer was back, and it was back with a vengeance.
When it became clear that Kristi's days were numbered, she, Xavier, and Anthony made a trip to Disneyland in early April with the help of Todd and his family. Fun was had by all, but Kristi was definitely beginning to slow down at this point. Kristi and Dad then traveled to Mexico for alternative treatments, and while this provided hope and some relief, her cancer ultimately was just too advanced. They returned to Calgary on July 3rd, and she passed away on July 25th at the Foothills Hospital.
So our family wanted to extend a few thank yous for the support that Kristi received over the past 18 months. There was a whole team of doctors, including Doctors Jensen and Kwan, and then their support staff, the nurses and other staff, and they were all excellent. To Anthony and his mother Gemma, you guys are awesome. Thank you for all your support and help. And then a huge thank you to Karen and to Kristi's inner circle of friends who helped out with child care, transportation, nutrition, mental and emotional health, and her business as well, her business partners. Each one of these courtesies was really, really appreciated and helped. So, I also traveled to Japan when I was in high school on an exchange trip, and it was a few years earlier than Kristi, and one of the things I remember being introduced to was a Japanese Zen phrase, and it's Ichigo Ichigi. And what it really means, the literal translation, is one opportunity, one encounter. And I also learned that it's one of the cornerstones of the Japanese tea ceremony. But this was all lost on me. I was 15 years old, just a dumb market, but I refound the phrase a couple of years ago, and it really struck home for me. And, I think the better translation is treasure every encounter, or it will never reoccur. And, in the last couple of weeks talking with different people, I truly believe that Kristi understood Ichigo, Ichigi better than most of us, and she touched so many lives and created so many memories. So after this service, please enjoy a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, whatever it is. Spend some time with neighbors or long-lost friends, and share your stories, and maybe make some new ones, some new memories, and ultimately cherish your time together. See you soon, children.
Friends were so essential to Kristi's life, and I'd like to invite two friends now, Karen Jenkins and Kent Williamson, to talk about their memories of Kristi.
Trying to take us back to a happier time, 70s. I met Kristi at the Sandbox in the Mississippi kindergarten class at Black School. And since that day, we've been friends. When I first started preparing for today, there were so many moments to think about. remember the hundreds of movies we've watched together. We'd be watching Molly Ringwald and 16 Candles, and Jake is waiting for Molly at the end of the movie. I'd be weeping and sniffling, and Kristi would look over at me and say, "Are you crying?" Kristi has so much strength and courage, not only in watching teenage movies, but also in the past 18 months. One of my first memories of Kristi is a funny story that her dad loves to retell for us. Although for Kristi and I, it was not funny at the time. We were in line for our booster shot at the nurse's office in the old part of Blackie School. The lineup went up the stairs to the little office. Kristi and I were clinging to each other, letting all the other kids ahead of us. After everyone got their shot, it was our turn. We declared that we were not getting a shot, and when the nurse said we needed to, we said, our parents said we didn't have to. This prompted Mrs. Montgomery to call my mom and Kristi's dad who had to come to the school, which was then followed by 2 giant eels in our arms. A few months later, I remember coming into the classroom on Friday afternoon, and on the chalkboard it was written, "Kristi can sleep over at Karen's." We were jumping and squealing with excitement for the rest of the day. We must have decided that a sleepover was a good idea, and then again, Mrs. Montgomery had to make some phone calls to arrange it for us. That was the beginning of the Blackie Girl sleepovers. Going to a sleepover at Kristi's was the best, except for maybe for Margaret, who would get an upset stomach from eating too many homemade donuts. There we would eat popcorn, candy, and get our first pop from the magical cold room in the basement. Watch satellite movies and play Atari. As we got older, we became more adventuresome with late night walks, forks for protection. But we weren't so smart. Smoking cigars in the furnace room will alert older sisters who didn't think that was such a good idea. Our youth was a time of slow pitch, with Kristi as our pitcher, Pioneering Sunshine Girls, Blackie's version of Girl Guides, but much better thanks to Mrs. Webb, Mrs. Irwin, and Mrs. Jackson. Talking for hours on the party line, you guys don't know what that is, you have to ask your parents. With the Webb kids listening in. Science fairs, where we won second place, for our project on acid rain. Many years later, Kristi confessed her brothers helped our acid rain plant look a little worse for wear than our control plant. I remember in grade 2, we were playing on the slide, and Kristi landed on her bum, and out came a loud goof. We laughed and laughed and laughed, and then one of us peed our pants. Again, Mrs. Montgomery to the rescue, calling Camille, bringing pants. Prior to her chiropractic dreams, Kristi wanted to be an entertainer. I don't think the term triple threat was around in the 70s, but if it was, Kristi would be aspiring to be one. I spent many hours sitting at the piano singing the Rose with Kristi, and she really did know how to sing. She took the role of the courageous lion in the Blackie School play and many roles in Blackie High Schools. Music was always a big part of her life. And she was often the one who introduced us to Rick Springfield, John Cougar Mellencamp, Michael Jackson, and of course Prince, leading us to perform Prince's Let's Go Crazy in the grade 9 Caravan contest. We were all so excited. In junior high, Kristi was already exploring the idea of working in healthcare and focusing on healing. She started reading, learning, and exploring reflexology, as they mentioned. I remember her calling me, telling me how so excited that she was able to get the collaborator's voice sciences degree. Helping people was what inspired her to choose the healthcare profession. From the beginning of her chiropractic career, Kristi was dedicated to her patients, their health, and their well-being. She created a special bond with those that she cared for. She welcomed them into her practice, and with her confidence, skill, and warm personality, made her patients feel comfortable, happy, and healthy. She had a special focus on women and children's health, and through the years mentored and supported many new chiropractors to starting their careers. As we got older, we adopted a few chiropractic Haley girls. Our sleepovers went from one night to two at the Crookshank household. Bob and Jude were sorry about all the water down in the bottles. These sleepovers started in high school and well into our university days. Often after a long night at the library, maybe it was the Heritage, we would go to 7-Eleven and buy cans of raviolis. Once Kristi dropped a can on her toe. As it was gushing blood, the police came into the store. Somehow she convinced the police officers to take her to the hospital. They even waited and drove her back to the Crookshanks. Kristi had the ability to connect with everyone. She was genuine, kind, and funny. This skill came in handy in getting out speeding tickets, ordering drinks, and putting up tents. People were drawn to her. She was one of those people who changed the dynamic when she walked into a room. Who wanted to be around her. It didn't matter if you were going on a fabulous tropical holiday or on a trip to Costco. You were going to have fun. You just wanted to be with her. The moment Xavier arrived was the happiest day for Kristi. Xavier was the light of her life. Her dedication and love as a mom helped him grow from a teeny-tiny baby to a curly-haired toddler who loves superheroes to a creative, intelligent, sweet, precocious little boy. He's just like Kristi. As we were going through old photos, you can see Xavier's smile in those photos. In many of the tributes, people noted her smile and her laugh. And in that smile, we can see the beautiful, caring, courageous, intelligent, confident, bubbly. I'm like an inspiring person. I will always call my best friend.
Well, as I stand here with the mic in my hand, I know Kristi's laughing right now. She's saying, okay, Trent, good. Either some sort of Aerosmith song or something she's wanting to say right now. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do that. We all share personal and special moments of Kristi in our hearts, and it's very hard to today be up here. Hearing my thoughts aloud, trying my best to focus on the happiest times Kristi was, rather than the fact she's no longer here with us today. I am certain that Kristi would have wanted us all to be here today with our happiest thoughts of our time spent together. I think that we all have a funny story or two we can share about Kristi. And that is what we will keep her alive in our hearts. We're going to miss her terribly. We always remember the great times we had together. I can honestly say Kristi was the coolest girl I ever knew. Is what Eric Circle said to me when hearing her passing. The coolest girl I ever knew. As I hear these words, he was right. I first became friends with Kristi in high school, but our friendship grew even closer after high school. Kristi had a very unique friendship with the guys she went to high school with. And when I say unique, what I mean is we always accepted her as one of the guys. Many times the guys would have to explain to their girlfriends that Kristi was really just one of the guys. I remember my wife when we went on our third date, Kristi came with us. 2 weeks after we got married, no honeymoon, me and Kristi are going to the Aerosmith concert. When the girls got to know her, they soon realized that she truly was one of the guys. Football games, hockey games, even bachelor parties, Kristi was there. She was our neighbor in Candy Meadows. Kristi was living with her cousin Randy, and we were looking for a house to rent. 5 guys looking for a house to rent. You wouldn't you know it? We found a perfect 5-bedroom house right across the back alley from Randy and Kristi. I asked a few high school friends to give me a few words to honor Kristi. And Jason Garris, a fellow chiropractor that she went to high school with, said, when I traveled back to Highwood from Australia, and I knew I was going to see Kristi, I always looked forward to 2 things. One, her enthusiasm to see us, and her genuine interest she had in what was going on in our lives. She always went out of her way to make sure we got together when we were home. 2, her adjustments. I have been adjusted by well over 100 different chiropractors, and I can say she was the best of the best. Mark initially said Kristi was, beyond the obvious, smart, funny, loyal, but she was strong. She didn't care what others thought. She was fine with doing her own thing, supporting her friends and those important to her. She helped me through tough times, could always get me to laugh or cry if needed. She was also so focused and had a great ethic that was motivational in our late teens and the U of A. There were a number of us that were there. She didn't judge but led by example. She was focused on her goals, in this case, in chiropractic. I didn't let anything get in her way. It was impressive, then as it is now. I lost touch with Kristi without someone when my kids were born, and even more so when Xavier was born. Everyone's busy raising their kids, finding their life. I think she would like it in her passing to become a catalyst to remember what is important: your family, your friends, our roots. It's not fair that she's gone, but I choose to remember her with a smile. My memory is her laugh, her warmth, and her pride. Dean McLeod said, Kristi was a great friend to me, and many of the same people we know. Kristi's impressions are important, but I remember meeting Kristi for the first time in junior high through Senator Riley. We're hosting a volleyball tournament at the Blocky School and enrolled Blocky into town. Kristi grabbed my attention immediately. She walked into our gym with her short, streaked, blonde hair, confident of her presence but not arrogant. She had a great big smile that was infectious. It was almost 35 years ago and the beginning of a friendship that has accumulated a lot of memories. Kristi is one of her friends that helped bring the rest of us together, whether it's just to have a barbecue and see everyone, or under difficult circumstances such as today. She's the glue that keeps us from pulling apart. I will miss her immensely. Don Ross, or as Kristi called him, Donnie Donnerton. Donnie Donnerton said, hard to put into words the honor of one of my favorite people in my life. She's so easy to share. She was with me with someone that didn't know her, and it's so fun to share memories with those that did know her. Kristi always made me feel like I was the most important person in the world at that moment. This was a gift. That was her gift to everyone in her life. We all had our own little inside joke with her, one that was only between her and you. She knew it made you happy and found little ways to show this. On a trip to New York City years ago, when she came back, she brought me a t-shirt from an alternative band she saw in an underground club. She told me that she soon had heard them and thought of me and needed to buy me a t-shirt. Funny, I don't think we had been in touch for 6 months prior, but that's why I loved her so much as a friend. This band became one of my favorites. I don't know what happened to the t-shirt, but that doesn't matter because I have the memory of what it represented, a friend that loved unconditionally. Dirk Snyder said memories of singing Midnight Oil, In Excess, 5440, and her white Ford Escort. I was a guinea pig for her amateur chiro endeavors. It was free, so that wasn't paid for. She fixed it a few years later when she was a legitimate doctor. You are a wonderful and kind person who I've had some great times with. It's heartbreaking to see you go, but we know you're at peace and comforted. You've had such an impact on so many people, including some of my dearest friends. You'll never be forgotten. Like Miles said, there were specific stories to Kristi, but the biggest thing that stands out, she was just one of the boys. She could hang out and be part of the group without the politeness, or whatever you call it, that would occur with other girls. She just had a fun, easygoing personality, even though she was obviously driven by running her own practice and raising Xavier. Ian Niche, or as Kristi called him, Papa. She was one of the guys, she really was. When we went out with the guys, Kristi was always with us. She used us for chiropractic guinea pigs, and my shoulder still clenches to this day. She was one of the hosts Great Cup parties. She was our neighbor at Candy Meadows, the designated driver, and I think we're calling her Papa. And a side note to this, the reason why she was called Ian Papa, one night we were all ready to get out. Ian was tired and worked the next day. he couldn't go, but to Kristi, that's unheard of. You're going out with friends, you get going right now. So, you know, she always called him Papa after that because she thought he was an old grandpa. When Kristi was first getting her chiropractic practice off the ground in Calgary, she worked her butt off building her practice. I look back at those times in her life, and the one thing she always made time for was getting together with friends. Most days, she would be up in long hours, probably should have stayed home, rested up, because she had to work the next morning, but not Kristi. Any chance to get together with friends for some good times and laughs, she was always there. If you had a birthday, she made sure you celebrated it. If she had a birthday, she made sure you celebrated it. Even if you didn't want a party, she made it a party. She planned our 10-year high school reunion party. Not only was this a party, it was a dinner and a dance. A dance back at the Center Riding High School gym. Not only was it a dance back at the high school gym, but Kristi made it a licensed dance back at the old high school gym. 10 years later, 20-year reunion was planned, and as usual, Kristi spearheaded the memorable event with a supper, karaoke sing-along, and even a pancake breakfast the next morning. After that one, she always told us that she was not planning her 30-year reunion, which is next year. Honestly, little did she know that she has already begun planning the 33. As I look out in the audience today, I see so many in the Center Riding High School class of 88. Many have traveled a long way to celebrate Kristi's life. We will have a 30-year reunion, and it will be a reunion of friends, a high school friends brought together in memory of our friend. Kristi is so alive in every single one of us, and between us, we have so many amazing memories to share. So let's keep sharing them and enjoying them. She would want us to be happy. Laughter and stories and fun times always got her through all her hard times, and laughter and stories of fun times with Kristi is what will get us through ours. It isn't possible to put into words the importance of friendship and how much Kristi meant to us. To the Laycraft family, on behalf of Kristi's friends, thank you. Thank you for sharing your daughter. Thank you for sharing your sister. Thank you for sharing your sister-in-law. And thank you for sharing your aunt with us. I know there was probably family suppers or family get-togethers that she had missed or maybe showed up late because her social calendar was full. By sharing her with us, Kristi made everyone around her a better person. To Xavier, people are going to tell you stories about your mom, stories that are going to make them cry, stories that are going to make them laugh, but most importantly, stories that will always make them smile. For you, these stories are how you're going to remember your mom. And with great pride, you're always going to be able to say that you had the coolest mom ever. One of Kristi's best traits was that she always lived her life to the fullest. We all know she loved to laugh and smile. She was such a good person with an abundance of love, laughter, and generosity. It is very hard to say goodbye. We don't want to, but we need to remember that Kristi touched so many people's lives. Kristi was a genuine person and gave not because she had to, but because she wanted to. In her professional life, she healed us with her hands, but in her personal life, she healed us with her smile, with her laugh, and with her heart. Thank you.
So many amazing memories to hold as a treasure. And I invite you to hold your own memories. Think of the moments you've shared with Kristi. And we're going to hear a piece of music now chosen by the family.
Heard there was a secret chord David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty, and the moonlight overthrew ya. Well, she tied you to her kitchen chair, she broke your throne and cut your hair. From your lips she drew hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before. Seen this room, I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew ya, and I saw your flag on a marble arch. Our love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, hallelujah. Maybe there's a God above, but all I've learned from love is how to shoot somebody who outdrew ya. It's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not someone who sees the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah,
I have two pieces of scripture I'd like to share with you. The first, from the first letter of John. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. And so we know and rely on the love of God for us. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God is in that one. We love because God first loved us. And from the Gospel of John, chapter 15. Close to the time of his death, Jesus spoke to the disciples, saying, "If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you, so that my joy might be in you, and so that your joy might be made complete. This is my commandment to you, love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to put one's life on the line for a friend. I do not call you disciples any longer, I call you my friends. For I chose you as my companions and have taught you everything about God's love, so that you may in turn share that love with others. For that's what it's all about. Love one another as I have loved you." We have gathered here today to celebrate the life of a beautiful, loving, compassionate, caring woman who brought joy and well-being to her family, to her friends, to her patients, to her community. We are gathered here today to celebrate all that made Dr. Kristi Laycraft who she was as a mother, a partner, daughter, sister, friend, and chiropractor. There is so much good to remember. We've just heard so many of the memories. I know there's more. Memories that bring those smiles of joy and tears of grief. Yet hanging over our gratitude and celebration is one question. Why? Why did this brilliant, loving, beautiful woman have to die now, when she had so much love and life left to live? Why, Kristi? Why now? I'm not going to give you some simple answer to that question. None exists. Each of us will search for our own answer, and I imagine many of us will come to the conclusion that there is no real answer. What I do want to say today is that I do not believe that God caused this or chose this. This is not God's will. God does not need Kristi more than you need Kristi. Her family and friends, you need her. This is not a punishment for something she or we might or might not have done. This is not God's will. We could have a long discussion about why bad things happen. Now is not the time, but if any of you want to come and sit and have a cup of tea with me and have that conversation, I'd be glad to have it. This is what we can know today. In the first letter of John, we hear that God is love. We are told that we are able to love because God first loved us. We are reassured that we can know and rely on the love of God for us. That when we love others, we are reflecting God's love. God is love. Jesus, in some of his last words to his disciples in the Gospel of John, reminds us and reminds them that if they abide in God's love, loving one another as Jesus has loved them, their joy will be made complete. God is love. It is not the will of a loving God that Kristi's life on this earth should end so soon. No parent would will such a thing for their child, and God does not will that for any of us. God is love. That is what we hang on to today when our hearts break in grief, when our minds explode with the question, why? God is love. God's love was with Kristi all the way. The joy we saw reflected in Kristi's life, the love she shared, is a reflection of God's love. In Paul's letter to the Romans, he says nothing can separate us from the love of God. Not life, nor death, not things present, not things to come, nor anything else in all of creation is able to separate us from the love of God we know. A love we saw reflected in Jesus. In a time like this, when we are overwhelmed by grief, angry, devastated, empty, we may feel separate from God and from each other. It may be very hard to feel love, to feel any sense of God's presence, God's comfort. It may be hard to believe that the pain we feel in this moment will ever ease even a little bit, that joy will be possible again. That's why we gather together at the time of death, so that the family knows that they are not alone in this, so that all of us know that we are not alone in our grief. We are God's loving presence for each other. We are care and comfort for each other. We remind each other that nothing can separate us from the love of God. And in the loving mystery of God, we will remain connected to Kristi. It will be hard not to have her here. But her love and her joy will continue to be with each of you, within each of you. Imagine her dancing with that big smile on her face, loving you as she always has. Imagine Kristi dancing now with God and the angels in total joy and love. And imagine God holding you, comforting you, and saying, I love you. You are not alone. This is what we know today. Amen. Would you join me in prayer? Gracious God, we know that your eyes dance with the delight of our joys and that your heart echoes with the sorrow of the pain we feel. And so we bring to you all that is in our hearts today. We thank you for the beauty and goodness of your creation which surrounds us. Mountains, prairies, trees, flowers, and fields. We thank you for the people who are ready to love and support us through whatever life brings. And we thank you for your presence as our strength and our hope. Today, especially, gracious God, we thank you for the life of Kristi Laycraft, for the love she shared, the friendship she freely offered, the healing and well-being she created for others, the joy she found in living, her loyalty, her compassion, and her caring. May nothing good in this woman's life be lost. May it live on as a treasure within our hearts and lives. Gracious God, along with our gratitude, we bring the pain in our hearts as we grieve a life that ended too soon. We ask that your love might be a strong support for Kristi's family, for her son Xavier and his dad Anthony, for her parents Camille and Daryl, for her brothers David, Stephen, and Todd and their families, and for all of the extended family and friends. May each person here today take with them a sense of your strength and peace. May we offer your love and comfort to one another in the coming days as we travel through this grief. Great God of all mystery, if in the presence of death our thoughts are startled and our words flutter about like frightened birds, bring us stillness, that we may cover the sorrow of our hearts with folded hands. Give us grace to wait on you silently and with patience. You are nearer than we can know, closer than we imagine. If we cannot find you, it's because we search in far places. Before we felt the pain, you suffered it. Before the burden came upon us, your strength lifted it. Before sorrow filled our hearts, you were grieved. As you walk with us in the valley of the shadow, be our good shepherd, and sustain us while we walk with you, lest in weakness we falter. Though the pain deepens, keep us in your way, and guide us past every danger. This we pray through Jesus Christ our Savior, who taught us to pray together, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. On behalf of the Laycraft and the Ward families, I would like to thank each of you for coming today to share in remembering Kristi's life and to offer your care and support. It is so important that we gather at the time of a death. It is our way of honoring the value of a person's life, of acknowledging the change that has come to our lives because of the death, and of saying to the family, you are not alone in your grief. You're invited, as has been mentioned, to join the family immediately following the service for a gathering here in the hall. I invite you to take time and come up and speak with the family. Sometimes we don't know what to say, there aren't words to express, but just know that your presence and whatever words you share will be treasured by the family. If you have a memory to share, I invite you to do that as well. We are here as Kristi's friends and family. We've gathered to honor her, to share our love, and to receive God's care and support. I invite you now to stand as we conclude the service. You only, God, are mortal, immortal. We are mortal, formed of the earth, and to the earth we shall return. Give rest, O God, to your child Kristi, with all your saints, where there is neither pain, nor sorrow, nor sighing, but only life everlasting. Into your hands, O merciful God, we commend your servant Kristi Laycraft. Receive her into your arms of mercy, into the blessed rest of everlasting peace, and into the glorious company of the saints, now and forevermore. Amen. May the grace of Christ attend you, the love of God surround you, and the Holy Spirit keep you now and forevermore. Go with blessings, with peace, with love.